I'm Dr. Michelle of Secrets of Life and Death and Second Chance Secrets. And I'm here today to talk about the body. How do you feel about your body today? Do you love your body? I love my body. And when you love your body, you are more likely to have success in your life. It helps you to do the things that you need to do. Let me explain myself. I believe that we are spiritual beings having a human adventure. And these bodies are our vehicle in this three-dimensional plane. And when you're in the other plane, where you're not in the three dimension, you don't have a body. And you can create things like instantaneously. It's a whole different reality. But in this reality, we need these bodies. And I've always believed in this somewhat separateness between my body and me. I often felt that I was riding a wild horse because it has its own agenda. It has its own objectives. And once you realize what the body needs, it gives you a lot of control and a lot of, hi, thank you for joining, RN. It gives you a lot of control over your body. Not in the sense of dictatorial control, but actually in terms of cooperation, because you really want your body to cooperate with you. I mean, you don't want it sabotaging you, do you? And the body can sabotage you, not like maliciously, but actually to try and wake you up, to alert you that things are not, hi, Aaron, to alert you, thank you for the hearts, the body's there to alert you to when things are out of balance. Now this, you may not know this about me, but I have been a physical person for most of my life. Oh, of course, I always played outside. Well, I'm sure you did too. But in as early as high school, I started running around the track. Now, I didn't run track because women didn't do much of that back then. But by the time I was in college, I became a long distance runner. And I've actually run multiple marathons. And a long, long time ago, my name actually appeared in Runner's World magazine as one of the top women marathon runners. That was after my first marathon. So I have been involved in working with my body for a long time. What I noticed though is that I never pushed it too far. That is, I was not really interested in hurting myself. And some people, it's not that they're interested in hurting themselves, but they let their ego take over and they don't pay attention to their body. And I kind of understand that because I have been doing yoga for years, and I understand that tendency, that habit of trying to push the pose. Fortunately, now I work with a yoga teacher who does not encourage us to push the pose, but to ease in, to be respectful for the body. And this has changed my relationship, not only to my yoga, but to my body itself. I mean, we really are brought up to believe that we're supposed to push all the time. Why? Well, that goes back to early childhood. So please excuse me, I'm going to talk about early childhood because that's where we learned all these things. So we came into these bodies and we were taught that if we did not fulfill the expectations of other people, or if we didn't manage things, that we would be unsafe or we would be unloved, which is the same as being unsafe, because a human infant needs love and nurturance to thrive. So you learn how to behave other than who you are. You go to school, they put you in these tiny desks, and they smack your hands if you get too fidgety, or they shout at you, and pretty soon you learn to sit very quietly for hours on end, which is not really the natural way of these bodies. In fact, this whole Western civilization has gotten so far away from what these bodies need, it's kind of disturbing. So we learn how to control them and ignore them. And in fact, that's what I did for a good portion of my life. I lived from my neck up. And I had a marvelous brain. Very entertaining and very safe. Now, why did I live up there? It wasn't because they put me in school and put me in desks, although that was part of it. It was because in early childhood, I had a traumatic experience, which in the larger scheme of things was pretty minor. But anything that happens to you between the ages of birth and about 3 years old have a huge impact on you. It's precognitive and it's very visceral. It's very inside the body. And for me, I had bonded with my father, not my mother, who was young, and she already had 2 kids and she was overwhelmed. So I bonded with my father. And when I was 2 years old, just at that point in time when you start stepping into your independence, into your sense of awareness of yourself as a separate being, my father was transferred to Japan. And I was devastated. And I'm sure I had tantrums all over the place. My mother was too busy trying to move a household to Japan. And so I learned to tamp down my emotions. And in the process, I shut myself off from my body. And so maybe many of you have experienced that too, of not really being connected with your physical body. Or in addition, like me, you use the body and you expect it to cooperate with you, and you don't understand why it's not functioning right all the time. So one of the reasons is that as children, we disconnect from our bodies. We're taught to disconnect, and we actually disconnect because it's not safe. We actually sometimes literally leave our bodies because it's not safe. This would be particularly true if you've ever experienced any kind of emotional or physical abuse, that you would learn to leave your body. At the same time, you learn other patterns, and these patterns disconnect you. I'm going to tell you about 3 essential components that need to be in harmony with your body. One is your brilliance. This is the reason that we're here. Remember, I said we are spiritual beings having a human adventure. So I call that brilliance. It's our connection to source, to light, to all that is expansive. And we come into these bodies which really compact us, right? And when we come into bodies that are like almost useless, they can hardly do anything. They can't talk. All they can do is cry. And they even have trouble digesting food. And so over the time of those first few years of life, we lose connection with our brilliance. What you might not know is that that connection is really important. We are really in union with our bodies are in union with us. But the body, as I said, has its own agenda. And when it feels fearful, it will go into survival mode and literally operate from the lower brainstem. When you are operating from the lower brainstem, you are not connected to your brilliance. You are not connected to anything rational or reasonable. It's all automatic and instinctual. So part of the journey of reconnecting your brilliance with your body is first becoming aware of your body, appreciating it and loving it. So how are you feeling about your body? Do you love your body? Do you love it fully where it is right now? Or do you have judgment? You could, for example, look at yourself on Facebook Live, or you could look in the mirror, or you could make a video of yourself and ask yourself, how do you feel about this body? Now, the interesting thing is that it changes. It doesn't stay the same. Do you still love your body? I am 70 years old. I think I got a really, really good body. But not everybody in my family did. And some of it is, how do you treat that body? Do you take good care of your body? Do you support it? Do you love it? Do you feed it the right food? Do you give it enough exercise? There are certain basic needs this body needs in order to function well. So that's the first question. Are you taking good care of your body? Is the body in connection with brilliance, with your spirit? If you are disconnected from spirit, it means that you are actually having to use certain resources in your body to tamp yourself down, to not connect with your brilliance. Because human beings, and I don't know whether this is because we are spiritual beings or because this is also part of being human, we need meaning in our lives. And having a purpose, having a direction, understanding what we really, really want to do gives us meaning, gives our life meaning. And when we have no meaning, it actually affects the health of our bodies. If we're feeling bored, if we feel what that French word is, ennui, where we don't know why we're here or why we bother, maybe if you're dealing with a lot of pain or you're struggling with not being loved or acceptable to other people, you may start to feel worthless. It's really important for you to change that, because all the cells in your body, and your body is actually made up of trillions of cells, they are listening. How to connect my body with spirit? Yes, we'll get to that. First, you have to listen. You have to pay attention to your body. If you don't listen, if you don't love your body, and that means really learning to listen inside, because your body is speaking to you all the time. If you have pains or aches or tightness or you cut your finger, all of those things. Now that, cut your finger, what are you talking about? Yes, because you want to look at which finger you cut. Everything that happens, you are involved in. You are doing that, So you want to pay attention to what your body's saying to you. For many years in my life, as I said, I lived from the neck up. I didn't pay attention to my body because I was afraid of my feelings. And that's part of your body, is those feelings. Feelings or emotions are part of your body's survival system. And so when you tap down your feelings, my goodness, you are cutting off huge quantities of information that you actually need. So that's the work I do. Enable you to work with your emotions, not to squash them down, but to actually release them so that you don't have that tension all the time in your body. So that's really important if you're going to connect those two, your brilliance and your body. Now there's a second character. There's actually one more after that, and that is your brain. Now yes, your brain is part of your body, but it probably thinks that it's above it all, that it's on top of things. And your brain actually works somewhat independently. Your brain will think things and your body will actually believe it, will respond. But then your body has emotions and your brain will jump in there and try and make sense out of that. And so the two of them kind of cycle with each other. That's why brilliance, your higher self, your spirit really needs to be in charge. And not in charge in a dictatorial way, but in charge as like a loving mother, as like somebody who really cares both about the brain and the body so that they can work together. So if you want to know more about this, because I talk about this stuff all the time in this group, so join the group, or you can go and check out my website, actually it's in the comments section, so I don't need to tell you that. Let's move on. So we have the body, brilliance, which is why you're here. So it's really important for you to have a purpose. I was telling you about those trillions of cells. Do you know that those cells actually have a mechanism where if that cell is no longer functional, it will shut itself down. It will self-destruct. Now imagine you're saying to yourself every day, I'm worthless, I'm unworthy, I'm no good. What do you think that's going to do to you, all those trillions of cells? Because they are listening to what you say. If you say you're fat, your body's going to say, okay, I'm fat. And it might even actually start storing fat cells. Now, okay, maybe you don't believe this, but when I was a long distance runner, it took me time until I actually could run a marathon. That's over 26 miles. Now that I have run it, even though I do not run anymore, I walk every day, twice a day. I don't run marathons, but I know in my body that if I need to run 26 miles, I can do it. It may take me longer than it used to, but I know that I can do it because the cells have that memory, that knowledge. Which brings me to that next key, which is your brain, what you think. Oh, we were already talking about that. That's right. So the brain, what do you believe about yourself? What do you tell yourself? What is the language that you use? This is really important. Are you supporting yourself or are you undermining yourself? And your body's going to feel that. And if your body's afraid, then your mind is going to come up with excuses. And this all goes back to childhood because we develop these survival patterns to make sure that our body is safe. And then our brain is in there with all its beliefs to support that behavior system, those habits. So if you want to change, whether it's your body or your mind, you need to address the behavior patterns. Now, yes, you probably need to also release the emotions around some kind of trauma or fear or whatever you do. And that's what I teach my clients is how to release your emotions in 2 minutes or less. The more difficult challenge is how do you change the patterns? And this takes work. It takes practice. It takes effort. It takes recognizing what it is that you need to do. And that's what I do for my clients. I help them, give them the guidance, give them the tools they need to change their habits, their behavior patterns. Hi, Terry. Thank you for watching. So we're talking about the body and its relationship to 3 other keys. Brilliance, which is your spiritual self or your higher self, your higher mind. I guess Freud talked about it as the superego. You can use whatever you want. I happen to think of it as something really separate from the body, that at some point we actually do separate from the body. It's a place that some people I've worked with, some of the clients I've worked with, have escaped into spirit because they don't feel safe in their body. And then there's the brain, and the two of them work together, body and brain. But brilliance, your higher self, needs to be in command. Now there is another component, and that component is community. It's who you surround yourself with. And interestingly, the community is not only the actual physical people that are surrounding you, and maybe you don't have that many people around you right now because we're all sheltering in place, but even one is going to make a difference. Or you talk to them on Zoom or on the telephone and they're there. But more importantly, they exist in your head. You carry your parents around in your mind, in your memory. And when certain things happen, when you have certain experiences, especially sensory experiences, it can trigger those memories. I mean, that's how they're triggered, is that we have a physical experience. Somebody says something to us, or we smell a particular scent, or we taste a particular food, and it brings up memories. And those memories are interpreted by your limbic system to determine whether or not this particular situation is safe or not. So we carry these communities in our brains and face to face. It's one of the reasons why public speaking is the scariest thing, the thing that people most fear. Because to be a public speaker, you put yourself in front of people who can reject you, that can either love you or hate you, sometimes both. And the body is like, ah! The body does not like to be rejected. Very early childhood training, plus it's part of being a human being. We actually need other people to survive. So what are you going to do about that? Well, I invite you to do a life makeover if you need to. If your body is not functioning really well, if you're having health issues, or have a conversation with me and let's find out what's going on underneath. I am trained in psychosomatics in addition to sociology and psychology and years of working with cognitive therapy and Gestalt therapy. I actually know how to interpret the language of the body. I would even call myself a body listener. What's going on in your body? And I can teach you how to do that so that you become a body listener, because you really want to do that. I can't be around with you all the time, can I? So you want to listen to your body, become friendly with your body, and take care of your body. Now I'm going to see if there's anything else I want to cover today. I think that's pretty much it. Unless you have a question, please put a question in. Why are our bodies so important? Because that's the way in which you fulfill your purpose. That's the way in which you enjoy life. That's the way in which you get to savor the experience of living in this three-dimensional plane. So you want to take good care of it. As I said, I'm 70 years old. I believe I've taken pretty good care of this body. In fact, I admit that I was given a good body. From very early on, I was always perceived as way younger than I really am. When I was 33 years old and living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I went in to buy some beer and they carded me and I said, "What? What's the age that you have to be to buy alcohol in this state?" And of course, I accepted the compliment. And to this day, I always look younger than what is expected, what you expect. So if you're looking your age, you don't have to be that way. The creator of Baskin-Robbins, hi, are you talking only about the physical body? What other body are you thinking of, Irene? I am talking about 4 different elements: the body and the emotions, which are part of the body, the brain, which is also part of the body but thinks it's separate, and then your brilliance, which is the higher mind, somebody who is above the ego. The ego is more into that survival mode. And then community, which is the people that we surround ourselves with. And of course, we have a certain amount of choice in that. In fact, we need to learn to exercise that choice. And then we need to learn how to interact with those people in our community, because we can actually have an influence on them. I invite you to have an influence on your community, because that's why we're here. We're here to influence other people, not control them, not manipulate them, but through our own behavior and through our own modeling, we actually influence other people. By not reacting to triggers, by taking a different course, we can actually impact other people. And I'm all for that. That's my mission, is to get as many of you amazing healers, coaches, entrepreneurs, conscious entrepreneurs, to get into action, to support you in doing the best you can, because it's scary out there right now. The whole world and the whole culture has some major problems. And women in particular need to step up. And that's tricky because we have been brought up to be accommodating and pleasing, or we have been brought up to believe that we need to stay in control. So the trick is to learn how to influence, to lead instead of to control or manipulate. And that takes awareness, that takes practice. So do you have any questions? Am I only talking about the physical body? Am I talking about the spiritual? Okay, so there might be other, like, energetic body and all that sort of stuff. That's not really part of my paradigm. It isn't that I don't believe in it. It's just that that's not what I teach. I keep it pretty simple to the body, the brain, brilliance, and community. Those are my 4 elements. They're very simple. I believe that we're here having a human adventure, and that we need to, so this is also part of taking care of your body. You need to feed your brilliance. The more you feed your brilliance, the more you develop your brilliance, the more you exercise it, actually, the better your body feels. Because when you tamp it down, you're actually using muscular energy to stop your brilliance from being. And, you think about it. There was a medical expenditure panel that did a study in the United States, and they found out that 1 out of 6 Americans is on some kind of psychiatric drug, primarily tranquilizers and antidepressants. Oh, our emotional body or aura. Yes, Irene, I'm sure that that's part of your paradigm. For me, I have a different cosmology, a different sense of the brilliance. I'm sure it does exist, and in fact, when I'm working with brilliance, I do send that energy out, so I am aware of energy. I am Scorpio, so I'm all about energy. That is something that I don't articulate, at least on Facebook Live. I want to keep it simple. Simple to higher mind or brilliance, our connection to source. And yes, it does. It transmits through us and between heaven and earth, and it creates an energy field and all that. And yes, there may be, you need to do a certain amount of healing in that. For me, I've studied with a Sufi master for over 35 years, and I have a lot of tools to access and tap into that place. That isn't an area of resistance or restriction for me. I can teach it to other people if they need that, but I prefer to connect with people who already have some sense of a greatness, a sense of self that's greater than just here and now. Those are the kinds of people I work with. So let's see. Summarize. To summarize, I was telling you about the people on the psychiatric drugs, and that doesn't account for all the people who are self-medicating through drinking and drugs and playing computer games and eating. So you think about it, eating, isn't that one of the things that we struggle with when it comes to loving our bodies? The statistic out there on the number of people who are overweight and the number of people who have diabetes in this culture is frightening. And it's not all your fault. Some of it is emotional. Some of it is early childhood wounding. But some of it is diet. And that don't get me into a political conversation here, but it is that we have been taught some wrong things about our health and how to take care of our health. In fact, I changed my diet a little over a year ago because suddenly I read some information and I realized that I was actually making a lot of mistakes. So and of course our knowledge of our bodies and how they function has been changing. So the new thing is microbiomes and how the gut bacteria influences you and how your insulin levels are affecting your brain. So brain is really important to me because my father died from Alzheimer's. My mother died from breast cancer. So I'm very, very conscious of my body. I think I will go over briefly what I was talking about. One is that your body is your vehicle through life. You are a spiritual being on a human adventure. And you need to be in cooperation with your body. Not push it, not bully it. Well, you might have to push it a little bit, but not bully it. But work together, cooperate. Influence your body like you would influence a child. And in fact, oftentimes you are influencing that inner child to come on board with you, to understand that it's in the best interest for both of you. And then there's the brain, which is a little bit the ego, has its own ideas, oftentimes beliefs that were formed when we were very early, or when we were very young. And then we carry this community around in our brain and also out in the world. We carry that community, we connect with community, and we choose our community based on areas that we actually need to work on. So if you're struggling, check out my website, and if you want to have a conversation with me, send a message. I would love to support you. I offer a free 15-minute introductory call to let you know the kind of work I do, but please check out my website first. Hope you enjoyed this. You have a great day, and bye.